everyone. We are so excited to be back once again to get together and talk about real woman issues that concern friends, wives, mothers, educators, and entrepreneurs. I cannot wait to start the show, so let's get going. And we are back. And I know that Kisha wants to do an introduction, but I want to share mine first. So I had the pleasure to attend an event around my birthday, and it was the screening of Hidden Figures. I think we even talked about it on the podcast that I'd gone to lots of private screenings. Well, the first one I went to was an event for EdCollab, and it was the first time that I was able to understand like teachers collaborating. It was really cool. It was very STEM focused, and I just fell in love with the whole idea. And Tanika, who's been on our podcast with the White Dress Project, actually said, well, this lady is my mentor. And I was like, oh my gosh, you need to introduce me. And so we did get introduced, and then that was it. And so it was magical how one month ago, you just walked into a room, and I was like, I think I know her. I think she is EdCollab. So it was just like kind of a magical meeting and coming together. And so I'm so excited to have her on this show. Now you can tell whatever you want to say.
No, so you met her at our Charlie Rock's best friend, our Charlie Rock's besties jewelry party, and that y'all came back and talked about this amazing lady and how she was just so everything we want to be when we grow up. And so I was all excited, and I was kind of bummed out because I missed that meeting. Yeah. So I felt like I missed a blessing. But to my excitement and surprise, you had booked her to be a part of Sweet Tea and Sunshine.
That's right.
So that was amazing. And then y'all had your little stinking private little private meeting that Charlie Rocks, Nicole, and Sharifa left me out of. Y'all know how we always talk about that friend jealousy. I was really hating big time. But today I got to meet Miss Nina, Dr. Nina. Please. You go ahead.
Doctor. Nina Gilbert.
Yes, Dr. Nina Gilbert.
My friends call me Nina.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start calling her Nina because I think we're friends now. Let me just tell everybody, like, this is like my alum.
That's right.
From
you can call me N. How about that?
N.
I just made that up. No one calls me.
Oh, okay. I was like, that sounds real diva, you know? So we are fellow alum from the University of West Georgia. So while they were already trying to become besties, we already had a connection. So I'm so excited, though. Seriously, I did.
And also, our last podcast was about mentorship, and we talked about adult mentorship versus mentoring, children. And so it was just so fitting. I was like, it's going to be perfect. And I think we did mention that we were going to have this interview about you, because I'm sure you've mentored a million people in your life already.
Almost.
But I feel like EdCollab might even be kind of that.
I think so.
Yeah,
and I think we're developing mentors.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how EdCollab even came about, I think.
So I will start with myself.
Yes.
So yes, I am an alum of West Georgia, but I also attended Clark Atlanta University and University of Pennsylvania. So I always tell people that I have that HBCU pedigree and also a great state college and university here in Carrollton. And then I love my alma mater at the University of Pennsylvania. So that's where I've gotten my academic training and background. And so I have 3 wonderful adult children. Professionally, I've done a lot in the education sector over the last 25 years. Time has really flown. So I've taught, I think, every grade level from kindergarten, in the K-12 sector, from kindergarten to 12th grade. I've worked in international, Montessori, charter schools, started charter schools, and most recently have served as an adjunct faculty member for both undergraduate and graduate students.
So you are an educator with a capital E.
Yeah, but I'm also a lifelong learner, so I learn as much as I teach, right? And so I love that. But I can't sit still, right? So I also consult. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm always starting something. And this nonprofit that I have now, EdCollab Atlanta, I love that because it allows me to work with other great entrepreneurs and innovators. So for me, it's I guess an extension of the work that I've done over the years. And I guess I will say because there's so much in the ed reform sector that is constantly focused on that's negative when it comes to kids of color. My research interest right now is really around this concept of appreciative inquiry, where we're looking at things that we can appreciate in our communities, like where are our assets. And I will have to say, the catalyst for this was right around the presidential election when there was a lot of rhetoric about our communities just being deplete of or absent of anything of value, that we can't go out of the house, we can't walk down the street, we have no schools, no grocery stores, we don't have cars, we don't have any teeth. What do you have to lose, Black people? Your communities are horrible. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I know so many people of color who are doing amazing things, who are contributing so much, not just to Black history. Like, we're more than what we discover in February every year. There are people who are continuing to create and innovate, inspire, and I know them. And they're not all old, they're millennials, right? And so I wanted to bring together this cross-sector, cross-generational, multi-industry group of people who are doing amazing things to uplift and empower communities of color, specifically those who are touching kids, youth, and families. And so EdCollab just kind of developed organically around folks who share a common goal and interest. So the theory of change around all of this and the philosophy around this rest in this collective impact model. So that's what we do. We have a common agenda. You have aligned activities and events, and you kind of measure your outcomes and the impact that you make. So that's what EdCollab is.
Yeah, and I was so impacted. The event was amazing. There was educators, there were chemists. This was for the Hidden Figures event, and I was like, that is exactly the place that we all need to be, where it's not this whole education sector separate from actual people doing real things. It's where they all come together, and that's how we can change kind of the way that education even looks. So I was really impressed with that, and that really sparked my interest. Now, you mentioned you had some children.
I do. I do.
Are they children or
they will always be children?
Now tell us about
my children, but they are no longer children.
Yes. Now, you being an educator, and we're in the midst of raising children, and also I could just imagine that they're adults now, so you've seen them through all of it. Can you tell us anything about educating your own children or some?
Yeah, so I will tell people that you don't realize it's happening while it's happening. So there's a checking of the homework, checking book bags, getting dinner on the table, putting kids to bed, starting all over the next day.
Yes,
right.
It's a cycle.
And it seems like it will never, will third grade ever end? Will fifth grade ever? But then it flies by. But I will say that the challenges that most parents face, and I am going to make it specific to parents of color, because that's what I focus on.
That's what you are.
So exactly. When you think about parents of color, especially those who are in urban or rural communities, and the struggle we have around inequity and disparity and making sure that our kids have access to that experience, did not elude me. Like, I also had to fight and advocate for my children, even when they attended the schools where I taught.
Right.
And so I think there's this myth that even if you're economically and socially mobile, that your kids
are immune.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not. They're not. So I will tell you, and I say this all the time, I love my kids, but I say they were not, I had to correct myself once. I said, they're not exceptional. I'm like, I take that back. They are exceptional children. They were not exceptional. They did not produce work in an exceptional way. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And when it finally hit them, that the things that they aspired to do professionally and academically would not be made available to them if they were just average.
Right.
Average gets you nothing, right?
Right.
So I think when they finally realized that some of their peers were getting acceptance letters because both my boys were athletes, but acceptance letters to colleges that had Division I teams, that was not, it was like, you're almost there.
Right.
Like if your GPA was just a point higher, your SAT scores were just a little bit. And when it finally hit them, they're like, oh, I got to take some more AP classes, or I need to take this SAT over. Like it was really close to them not having the options that they thought would just be presented to them.
So they
like
thought that it
peers.
would be presented to them like everyone else.
Well, it's kind of like this generation, right? This generation, like, yeah, of course
it's going to happen.
Of course I'm going to go play football.
Of course I'm going to be a basketball star.
I know I'm 5'10" and 130 pounds, but yes, I'm going to go play for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
And I saw that even with some of my students that I taught who were great athletes, and let's say they were 6'3" and 240 pounds, and I would say to them, hey, how's college looking? Like, where do you want to go? Well, Miss Gilbert, I'm going to go to the University of Kentucky. Like, what? Have you had algebra yet?
Right.
Like, what about your foreign languages? No, coach. No. Tell me which classes have you had that would make you even eligible for that. And it just broke my heart to find out that so many of our young men, and I say young men because I was working with athletes at the time, were not even prepared for that final buzzer of any game, because the schools, the fields, and the courts that had so much use for them would have no use for them once they were no longer a student at that school. And so for my own boys, I had to remind them that your pathway is not going to be on a field or a court. Right. So academics is going to be your pathway into the college that you want to attend, and just being an average performer is not enough. So we and I think choice is always good, because our kids have been in Montessori schools, international schools, urban district schools, and charter. So it's about, in the Christian school. So it's about putting them where they need it to be successful. And I just hate that parents who don't have that ability to be that mobile, or put their kids where they needed them to go, or advocate for them the way that I did. Yeah. What are their outcomes?
So that's one of my challenges in my personal life, is that my kids have moved to several different schools, because I told you, all the places I've been an administrator, so every time I've moved, they've moved. But it's interesting hearing you say that that's beneficial, that they get to be a part of different schools, because that's not how I have always looked at it, as that's instability for my children. Why am I moving them so much? They need to be settled and planted, because that's how I went through school. So I love hearing your outlook on the fact that was helping cultivate them to be well-rounded children and people through that movement.
But it was also moving also because I transferred a lot. I taught in an elementary school, and my son was there until I moved to the middle school. He came to my middle school. I became an administrator at an alternative school. I'm like, he can't go there.
Right.
Of course. We hope not.
Yeah. And so he was not really feeling our local high school at the time. It was it had a very interesting culture.